So I'm gonna preface this first. Yes, I did go last year, and yes, it is so magical. It's not my first festival that I attended last year, but it was my first time attending Oki, and I just fell in love with it. That's why I was so excited to go this year. Last year, they were so opening and welcoming. You can see that people had each other's backs. Like we were a whole community, especially if it's a 4-day festival. We know that we got each other's back, especially in tents or hey, you need something? I got you. Or if do you see somebody, hey, do you need gum? Do you need candy? Do you need Narcan? Like we were all together as a community, and I have been looking for this festival ever since last year. I was fortunate to be part of the promoter of the festival, so that was a great honor. So imagine myself being like hyping everything. It was it is magical. I still had a great time. Like I'm not saying that this year was bad, however.
Straight off the bat, as soon as I walked into Okeechobee, I could see that there was no shade, and that really blew me. Okeechobee didn't have shade. They ran out of water. The security company canceled on them last minute, and they told me that they were from Craigslist. Literally, they told me they're like, "Yeah, we're from Craigslist." And I was like, "Okay, great." So straight off the bat, I could just see a lot of disorganization compared to last year. I felt everything was very much cohesive, whereas this year it was kind of a lot of things a little bit out of control.
So I've gone twice. I've gone in 2020 and I went in 2022 last year. Solidified me not wanting to go anymore because of the festival logistics. It's just not good. So the first year I went, it was in 2020. The day that we came back was the day that the pandemic started. It was really scary because like you came back and the world was shut down. At the festival, we had no idea what was going on. They didn't want anyone to tell us. They didn't want us to inform ourselves about anything. They didn't give us any type of like, hey, you should be washing your hands, hand sanitizer, making sure you're protecting yourself. Nothing. They weren't communicating to us at all. So when we came back, it was like a big shock to our system. Like, oh my God, the world just shut down. Now, last year I went again because I was like, I gotta go again. I gotta try to redeem it. The reason why I did upfront and close was because basically told us if we were in upfront and close VIP, we would have like access to getting into the festival faster. You would get in the grounds faster. Basically, all that was a lie. They said that we had shade. There was no shade whatsoever. They had one singular tree for the entire VIP section. They told us that we got free hair braiding, right? So I went and got my hair braided in the VIP section. Now it was around 98 degrees at this point, and they were in a tent that had only one exit. So it was like just one area and then like shade from this end. There was girls getting their hair braided in there and a girl passed out while she was getting her hair braided. We immediately freaked out because she like fell, she hit her face was bleeding, and we're radioing for help and no one's coming. It was like very clear at that moment that this was not going to get any better.
So this is my first Okeechobee. I've been to a few other festivals. I've been to Electric Forest, Camp Bisco, EDC, and I've also been to some small local type festivals that run for a day or two that are local in communities that kind of do this style of music. So I've seen it all from like low quality, just like 100 people hanging out and vibing type production to the level that we see at EDC where it's just insane production value for what you get. I commented a little bit on my personal experience with the festival that even though I personally had an amazing time and I felt a lot of great vibes at the festival, I also noticed a lot of the things that people were concerned about. Security was, I don't even know if we could call them security, was basically how I viewed it. It's nice to have laid back security. I get it. People want to bring couple joints into the festival, they want to sneak a little extra alcohol in, that's great. And I don't mind that. Bring your party favors. I could have walked in with a massive gun and they would not have found it because they did not check anything. And that's concerning from an attendance perspective. There's crazy people out there. You mix crazy people with drugs and alcohol, you get a really bad outcome.
This year, with comparing last year, it wasn't there. It was not there. And the sun, the highest that it got was 91. It was feeling of 101. Okeechobee, their stages last year was amazing, and they downgraded. The interactive that they had next to the lake, they had a lot of interactive last year. This year, they had 2 towers of cans, and that's it. Last year, they had booths, they had can towers, they had, it's not like an Eno, but it was an interactive place where you can lay down. There was like 3 or 4 of them throughout the beach. Jungle 51, they also had interactive stuff in the actual jungle. Like, it was magical. But with this year, it felt like, where is our money going? To be honest, like, where is our money going? These tickets are not cheap. They are so not cheap. You would expect higher quality. Like, I was expecting, like, oh my God, this is gonna be like so an amazing thing. And I was like, where's the tent? Where are the interactive stuffs? And they even had hammocks last year everywhere. Where were they? They had 2 or 3 that I was able to see. Maybe there was more. I wasn't able to see it, but with my experience, I was not able to see it. Security, they would check, but it was okay, good, your go. The recent festival that I went camping was Imagine. They would check your stuff. Oh, they would check everything, and every 30 feet you would find a med tent. They would pass waters, they would be checking up on you. And even last year's Oki, I was on rails for 4 days, like 4 days straight. I don't know how about it was this year, but I would see like security. If there was something, they would pull people out of the crowd. Like, they were on their A game last year, but this year, like, what happened? One of my friends overheard security that they found like a pen, or it was an actual joint. And the security guard actually said, give me $10 and I will be quiet. And it's just, be so for real right now. At the end of the day, people are going to sneak in. It's bound to happen. But don't, that just is, I just found it, how do I put it? Icky. It was just so icky. That's just so weird. I found it very freaking weird. Like, why? Security this year was very weird. And with yesterday's also experience, Ella Stream had a light code meditation. It was a beautiful experience. But before that, security was not letting everybody go in. There was people already in and they were kicking them out. Something about not having to scan the codes. I just feel like with our money, it's like, where is it going? Like, where is it going? It still had that magical like touch, but it's like it wasn't as expected as last year with what I experienced, to be completely honest. Like last year, they were all around. They had their little bags with, with CPR, first aid kits. You would see them walking around. This year, I can actually have experience with EMT. We were actually at a grid set and we were all having a good time, headbanging, especially when you're under the influence. Sometimes the bass does not hit everybody differently. I'm a dubstep girly myself, and I just love the bass. Yes, give me the bass, but some people cannot. So on Grizz, again, having a good time, he dropped the bass. A man behind me, he just yelled, "What the fuck was that?" And he jumped over the couch that we had, got into us, and then he landed back in the couch. And we were 4 group of girls, and one of our friend's boyfriend was there. And he just pushed us to the front because he was started kicking and screaming, and they put him on the couch. And I would still look on the back. I wanted to check. He was hitting him. He was in a bad place, like super bad place. Our friend, he took him to the med tent, and we didn't know anything until the end. And we asked him like, what happened? We took him to medical. They refused. The medical was not having it. I was like, wait, what? He was like, he was not having it. He was not helping us. I had to walk an extra 30 minutes to see if someone would help because medical would not help. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Security definitely needs to tighten up and get some more experience. As far as medical staff, rarely, if ever, saw them. And I don't think I ended up finding the med tent. Like, I kept an eye out for it to look for it, and I just couldn't find it in a convenient place, which is very concerning. I see someone go down in the crowd, I want to be able to look up and spot med tent from wherever I am in the crowd and be able to send a flag down to them. We were in Blue Camping, which is GA camping, and it was a hike. I would say the closest bathroom was about 10-minute walk from where we were, and the closest stage was probably about 20 to 25 minutes. Not the most extensive walk I've had from a campground to a stage. I've been to Forest where those walks can be like 30, 40 minutes. But Forest also offers shuttles to and from. There weren't any shuttles to get people back and forth from the stage. The only thing they had were the pedal cabs, which I think were charging $30 a person, which is insane, and I'm not paying that. But the price gouging, not only from there, but like the food and drinks price gouging was out of this world as well. So not a ton of water stations, and the water stations they had were lacking in spouts. When I'm looking at a festival of this size where you're getting anywhere from 20 to 50,000 people, each water station should have 10 to 15 spouts going for people to fill up their water and get through that line quickly. The spouts had about 5 or 6. The congestion at the water areas was insane. Water tasted fine, it tasted clean, like it was definitely filtered. I had no issues with that. Just that there weren't enough, and I don't think they were marked as well as they could have been. And I know a lot of people ended up using some of the hand washing stations they had outside the bathroom to fill up their hydro packs. Thankfully, nobody in my group needed medical attention. We try to stay very safe. We test all of our substances. We don't buy from people we don't know. That's pretty much a rule of thumb that I recommend for people. I did witness one medical emergency. It was Saturday night because it was in between Big Boy and Grizz. So it was like that half-hour period in between those two sets. I had walked to go to the bathroom and fill up some water for me and my group. As I was walking back, they had a whole area blockaded and they were evacuating somebody out. Someone laying down on the back of a golf cart. They weren't moving. I don't know the details of that situation. I haven't heard anything more about that specific incident. So I'm hoping what it was is someone just passed out. They were dehydrated. They had been drinking too much, whatever it was, and that they just needed to get them somewhere to cool down and rehydrate. But the person was not moving when they were pulling them out. So they were definitely unconscious. I didn't personally witness this one situation. This was actually my friend on Sunday night. Me and one girl in our group were pretty tired. We just couldn't make it anymore after Ellis Dream set, but she wanted to keep going. So I told her, take the hydro pack and your phone so that we can contact you and go have a good time. And she was, I think, ended up in Jungle 51 or Incendia. I forget which stage it happened in, but she saw a guy laying on the ground wrapped up in like a fitted sheet and not moving. And so she went to check on him. She shook him a little bit and said, hey, and he wasn't waking up. Like he wasn't responding to what she was saying. She told some people to like watch him while she tried to find security, because one security guard came up and she said the guy needed help, and then he walked away and she was like, I don't think he's coming back. So she flagged down another group of people to keep an eye on him, and then she went and found a different group of security. And when she came back, they shook him really violently and he just popped his head up very slightly and didn't make any sound. He just popped his head up and opened his eyes, and security was like, oh, he's probably good, he's probably fine, he's awake, he probably just had too much to drink. I don't know about for you, but for me, someone just lifting their head and opening their eyes isn't enough for me to be like, that person's okay. It was a situation where they definitely should have had medics come and check him out and run a diagnostic on him at the very least.
Can only be so prepared, but if like the festival isn't giving you resources and has limited help and security that doesn't really know anything, then you're only left with so much. And I like to be extremely prepared, especially when it comes to festivals. And we got an RV this year because I could not do camping again, because it's just too much. The walking was just like insane. It's just too much. So we did an RV this year. We prepped super. We have signal, everything. But, when it comes to logistics and like the actual festival, no one knew anything. It was kind of a free for all. I feel like the first day was fine. It was very much, I'm like, they weren't even going in. They were just kind of touching the bags, letting us go. The second, the third, and the fourth day, the security were opening, like became a line because they were pickpocketing every single person's thing. So like one of my friends we had like bud in a backwood container, like a paper, like the paper. Well, he went in her backpack, went into the blunt wrap, opened it up and said, if you give me a nug, I'll let you go. And this poor girl, my friend who is so sweet, is like, here you go. Here's a nug. And I'm just like, can you imagine everything else that they just kind of finessed because they had the authority and the power to? They became very aggressive the second and the third and the fourth day. I was GA plus. So there the VIP and the GA plus restrooms were next to each other. You could exit the VIP, but you couldn't enter that way. You would have to go all the way around. We like our RV was right there. So they became really aggressive because it made no sense how we could exit from that place, but we couldn't re-enter. And they looked at me and they're like, yeah, it makes no sense either, but that guy lost his job, the one that let you go through. I'm like, you're literally just bullshitting me. You're literally just bullshitting me. So I tried to get through, and then this woman like started going after me. And I was like, what are you going to do? Tackle me to the ground? Like, it was just the power trip, like on the security was disgusting. They had no like sense of why they were even there. The biggest thing for me straight out of the gate was the shade. How are you going to take away something that has been there consecutively on some of the hottest days? There's absolutely, it's just an open beach. And then you're not going to put shade. And then, I mean, we can get into the whole retention pond thing. That gets me really, really, really frustrated.
The festival itself is surrounded by like little like rivers and like little ponds. So it's like really cool in the sense that it's like a beach, right? But there's absolutely nobody running the beach at all. There is not a single lifeguard. There is no fence telling you that there could possibly be alligators in that water because they are infested waters out there. There's nothing that warns you that there is shallow water, that it has anything in the water. It's just genuinely a dangerous area. The water is actually black, which is really even scarier to even look at because like you can't see the bottom.
Why would they still have the lake if an incident already happened? Like, it is bound to happen again. Why wouldn't I have security, have something? Like last year, I noticed a lot of people would go into the lake, but they would not go as deep as they went this year. This year, everybody went all in. But last year, they would just stay like on the edge of the water. They wouldn't get as in deep. Yesterday, I saw a helicopter rescue go in. I still don't even know what was that about because they are so good with keeping it under the rug that you're like, what is happening? I left last night. I was so tired, and it's a long walk, and the sun was beaming. As soon as I left and I was able to have service, the first thing I opened on Twitter was one of our mutuals saying, what is going on at Okeechobee?
There's a little tiny sign, not that tiny, but a sign that says no swimming allowed. There's no security. There's nothing that says you probably shouldn't go in there. The first day I was about to go in there, shit, it looked like so much fun. A freaking beach party and the stage is right there. But then I got up closer to it. I was like, oh no, I don't know how fucked up I'm gonna get this weekend, but I know in my soul I will not touch that water. It looked like poop water. It looked like nasty water, and I think the only reason people were resorting so much to that retention pond this year is to cool off because they had no shade at that stage. They posted that picture marketing and enticing their guests to swim in it. The picture looks like a freaking blast. My friend came with me last year. She went last year. I went last year. We didn't know each other. She told me, she's like, did you guys go swimming last year? I'm like, you can't, there's no swimming. They're like, I think maybe like people dip their feet in, but there was no swimming. And then this year people were swimming, and it's, I think because they had nowhere else to cool off. That's where a lot of really good artists were playing. And there was no like water near that stage. It was just a lot of shit. I just think like their whole social media thing is messed up. The fact that they posted that Grizz is playing at like Incendia, which is literally like a very small renegade stage. People were explaining it to me like Astro World, like they got crushed, like stepped on because of how intense the Grizz fam was. And then for me on Monday, when I woke up to see that there was a death, I am such an empath that like I literally almost threw up from the feeling of you don't go to a festival thinking you might lose your friend. One death is too many. It was preventable. It's not that, oh, this guy got fucked up and he got fucked up. No, doesn't matter. That there needed to be lifeguards. There needed to be people enforcing no swimming. There needed to be more water. There needed to be more med tents. When I read that thing about Okeechobee, I looked and none of my friends told me. They all knew apparently before me. They didn't tell me. And I like read it on my phone. I like was like, is this real? And they were like, what, the Okeechobee thing? I was like, what? And my friend Melvin is like one of the guys that went in there and dragged him out, which is like really crazy because I saw him on the comments and I was like, wait, Melvin? Like out of everybody? I can't really think about how like it's just really gross. And the fact that people were swimming in that water the day after, it's just all gross. And it's exactly why you need to be careful. But you could be as careful as you could, but it's frustrating. I Googled retention pond. Took me 2 seconds. I'm not that smart of a girl. Pretty smart. Not that smart. I don't know that shit. Retention pond? Disgusting. It's literally a retention pond. Read that it's a very high rate of drowning because there's this like pool that pulls you in. And Melvin, he's 6'4". He said that the water got really deep really fast. And it's just so horrifying.
My big thing is, and I tell people this all the time, if whether you're on drugs or not on drugs, sober or not, if you are going to get into a body of water, make sure you are with people who are keeping an eye out for you, or there's a certified, legitimate lifeguard on duty watching over that water. Don't go swimming at night. These are all basic things. And I am also almost positive that Stevie knew these things. What happened is that Okeechobee markets that body of water as swimmable. They market it as part of something that festival attendees can enjoy. So we go there thinking this water is safe. It's meant for people to swim in. It's there for that purpose. This is a guy who probably thought what he was doing was safe and probably thought there was someone keeping an eye on him. And he was failed. He was failed by just what I think is absolute negligence on the festival's side. They marketed something as swimmable and then didn't have a single lifeguard or security member watching that body of water all week. That's unacceptable. So my main concern was heat exhaustion or heat stroke. They definitely should have had more shade available. Water looked super murky, gross, dirty, not water that I tend to get in. I didn't see anyone blocking the water. I didn't see anyone just walking and making checks along the shoreline to make sure people were staying where they should have. There was what looked like some netting a little bit farther out, probably to prevent people from going any further. I think it was about 20, 30 feet from shore, but I think that's the only safety measure that was taken for the water. There were no signs saying don't go in the water. The water was open for people to go into. That was an allowed thing, but there was nobody patrolling to keep it safe. And this is probably a liability thing. I don't think they come right out and say, jump in and take a swim into this water. However, if you look at all of their marketing, the videos that they post on different platforms like Instagram and TikTok, they show people with beach toys in that water, splashing around, swimming. So even if they aren't coming right out and saying, hey, this is water we're providing you guys to swim in, they are marketing it that way. And I think that lends itself to liability. You definitely raise a good point, and it's one that I hadn't thought about before you brought it up was Yeah, there were children at that festival, and that was an unattended body of water with no child safety measures taken. Like, festivals are supposed to be like inclusive, a safe space. If you feel like medical are supposed to be their security, like they even say, oh, like you're not gonna get in trouble, please come to us. But when stuff like this happen and we go to them, they don't get the slightest interest. So how am I going to feel safe? How am I going to know that if something happens? Because even on Twitter, with that person who drowned, they were like, oh, I heard yelling help at 2:30 in the morning when I was going back to camp. Well, where was security? Like, where were they? And there was a lot of security, but at the same time, where were they? Where were they? Like, how am I supposed to feel safe? Apparently, there's 60 people hospitalized, especially with this person. Like, his name was Steven Nguyen, who died, who drowned. There were tweets about saying that he drowned around 2:30 in the morning and they did not pull their body out until the next morning. He could have been saved. He could have been fucking saved if security would have helped, because apparently there was a lot of people screaming. There was a lot of people going at him, people yelling for help, and they didn't pull his body until the morning.
And I'll try and get straight to the point here. So there's been multiple confirmed deaths at the music festival over the weekend, and I can't imagine what it might be like to be a parent or a friend and have your kid, your friend, your loved one go off to the festival and say, oh, have a great time, and then that's the last of it. I think it's important, a few things here. You know, one of the things is that there's going to be a lot of blame thrown around at the festival, like whose fault is this thing? Is it the attendees? Is it the staff's fault? Is it the organizers? Some of the things that I do communicate and talk about at the Grizz show is to look out for and take care of one another. So breaking that down, it's like we understand that there are inherent risks with taking drugs at a music festival or drinking at a music festival. These are very potentially toxic chemicals, and if not tested or taken in too much abundance, can leave us dead, and that is not the desired outcome. So one of the, a few of the things that come to mind here are like, are we having serious conversations with our friends about our drug use and our partying at a music festival? Are we having a safety meeting before we go out for the night? Or are we saying, hey, we know where all of the EMTs are located in case of crisis? Is there somebody with us that is going to be able to handle a crisis event in the case of something bad happening? Is there somebody that will be of a state of mind that will be able to be collected and sober enough to be able to take us readily to a place of need and help? Are we having a meeting with our friends about where the drugs were tested, if they're high quality enough, where the source was, where we procured them from, what kind of dosage we're intending on taking, so that we can keep an eye out for each other and say, hey, are we implementing things like the buddy system? Are we letting our friends go off into the night and say, hey, I'm meeting up with somebody else, and just passing them off into the night as they're meeting up with new friends that we don't know about? Are we letting them run errands by themselves around the festival that you could be run into predatory behavior? You could run into obstacles within the festival that are not divided off properly so that you can't access them, dangerous situations, machinery, water. Are we taking care of each other? And these are the types of things I'm talking about when we're trying to take care of each other. These are the types of things that I'm trying to communicate. Are we seeing somebody else, if this is a position that us, our friend group, can put ourselves out there for, because it's not always the case in protecting yourself from other people in an environment where there's tens of thousands of other human beings. That is also a serious concern. If we are in a space where we feel comfortable and safe enough to be able to extend ourselves to other people that look like they're in crisis or look like they're in need, it never hurts just to ask a simple question, hey, are you doing okay? And is there any way that I might be able to help? This is not necessarily about risk prevention completely. I mean, hopefully at one point it can be about risk prevention completely, but right now it's risk aversion. We understand that walking outside of our door, there's a simple fact that so many people die from car accidents a day, accidental situations, and that is just to say that we understand that there is a risk, and we are also increasing those risks by doing things like consuming, whether that be drugs or alcohol, or experiences that could be deemed as dangerous. And now we look at the festival operations site and we say, hey, we are very frustrated with the way that the festival is operating their shit. So something that I want to communicate to you is that every single time that you consume a purchase from some entity, you are also giving them a vote and saying, hey, we are supporting you because you're providing us with something that we want. We are supporting you with our dollar and giving you extended life to exist as a company. So I want to say that if something is being frustrating, one way to be able to combat that is say, hey, I will abstain from consuming your thing, and I will go and vote my dollar on some other experience that I think is more wholesome, that I think that is serving my needs and the community's needs better. And then something else is that when there are certain bills and or actions that can be passed through by your physical vote or your voice, that the frustration that you're feeling right now in this moment is not lost, and that you can hold on to that frustration and be able to do something with that in a time of desired action or take action on yourself. There is going to be action that is taken on the festival's behalf, I'm sure, I don't know, to be able to come up with some sort of resolution for this thing. Whether that is accepted or not accepted by the community, that's up to you. You are the community, so use this as an opportunity of inspiration to say, hey, I dislike this and I want to do better. How can I do better? How can I facilitate this sort of change by voting with my dollar, by speaking out with my voice, and by coming together as a community to be able to support things that support the community, us, better and more wholesomely, in a more healthy manner. On my side of things, I feel that it is a call for me to be able to do better in my interaction with the festival community, to be able to say, hey, the types of things that Grizz is doing already at his shows, the things that I'm doing already at my shows, that I can help collaborate and facilitate more of those opportunities with the festivals, to be able to create the space that I'm hoping to facilitate and create with y'all, the fan base, the people that deserve the fucking world, because y'all show up for me, y'all take care of me, and I'm doing my best to try and take care of y'all, and I could be doing better. So those are the types of things that I'm committed to going forward, and you know, just gotta do better. I love y'all, and please take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and let's do better. I love y'all.
We now know the name of the man who died at the Okeechobee Music Festival last weekend. The Okeechobee Sheriff's Office confirming Steven Nguyen was from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Taylor Hernandez joins me now. And Taylor, what else did we learn so far about this man and this investigation?
Well, Aaron, deputies say another festival goer actually saw Nguyen's body submerged in water at the festival about noon on Saturday. He was reportedly last seen by a friend about 11 o'clock the night before. Deputies do not believe foul play is suspected, and they are investigating his death as an accidental drowning. Friends of Nguyen, they started a GoFundMe where they describe him as an angel and the kindest person they had ever known. The Okeechobee Music and Arts Festival happened this past weekend. Event organizers confirmed the death of an attendee last night, but deputies just identified him within the hour.